So I want to ask you a cheeky question. Out of the first growths, which one is your personal favorite?
That is complicated.
I know.
That is complicated. I am Alsatian, and my father in the green garden has 15 different salads.
Oh, really?
Yes, because he don't want to eat lettuce every day.
Right, right.
And that is so interesting. And I am so young because I have a lot to taste, but it's too early for me to have an answer to this question.
Welcome to another episode of On the Road Edition, hosted by Stevie Kim. Each week, Stevie travels to incredible wine destinations, interviewing some of the Italian wine scene's most interesting personalities, talking about wines, the foods, as well as the incredible travel destinations.
Hello, everybody. My name's Stevie Kim, and welcome back to Italian Wine Podcast. We are on a special mission here in Bordeaux. I'd like to call it the Bordeaux Discovery with Bernard Burtschy, our wine expert, of course, of Bordeaux, but more importantly, our wine friend. Bonjour, Bernard.
Bonjour. Welcome in Bordeaux.
Yes, thank you so much. Merci beaucoup. What we'd like to do with Bernard is that we have been here the past 4 days visiting Bordeaux with Bernard and his friends because he has been doing this for the past 40 years. 40. And what it is that after the En Primeur, which is in April, that's of course, the barrel samples. And then in January, what he does is that he goes back to retaste just in the bottles before it goes into the market. Now tell us why you do that, Bernard.
2 years after the first barrel tasting, we say it's a Premier tasting, the same wines in bottle. And today we tasted 2022. We tasted 2002 2 years ago in April. And now since 3 months, 4 months, 6 months, they are finally in bottle. And we can see if we have the same wine, because in Au Primeur, it's a sample.
Exactly, from the barrel.
But now the wine is in bottle. And the winemaker is finished. He spent 1 year, 16 months, 18 months in barrel. And we have a lot of surprises. We saw in the Premier tasting that clearly the vintage 2022 is a great vintage. Probably a fabulous vintage.
Okay, so don't tell us if it has been confirmed or not. We'll tell our audience at the end.
Yeah, of course.
But so it is all about, there's, of course, the left bank and the right bank. And what we have focused the past 4 days is absolutely the left bank. In particular, the Grand Cru Classé of 1855. So tell us why it's called 1855.
1855, for the exposition, Universal Exposition in Paris, okay, they presented the bottle. And when you present a bottle, they're all the same. And they said, okay, we need to make a classification with first growth, second growth, until fifth growth to explain easier for the consumer the hierarchy of the wine. And we began this year by taste the first growth. And the first growth, we have always to go to visit each first growth, one after other. There are 5 first growths.
Okay, so there are 5 first growth in the left bank.
Yes.
So we have been to all of them. Can you give us an overview of these 5 first growth we went to? We started with Latour, I remember.
Usually in Bordeaux we blend different grapes. Mostly Cabernet Sauvignon on the left bank, mostly Merlot on the right bank. But in Pauillac you have 80-90% of Cabernet Sauvignon. That is the kingdom of Cabernet Sauvignon. And you have 3 Premier Cru, 3 first growths in the same place. Latour, that was the first one we visited, is always probably the most powerful Cabernet Sauvignon with a great density. The second one is Lafite Rothschild. Lafite Rothschild is the most elegant. And that is then an opposite. In one hand, the power. In the second one, you have the
elegance.
And you have a third one. And third one is Mouton Rothschild. And Mouton Rothschild, you have the complexity. You have the 3 points, the powerful, the most elegant, the most complex. And you have 3 Premier Cru with the same grape. And that is at least 2 centuries, mostly 3 centuries, the classification was made because it was formal in 1855, but they began before. When I taste a wine, I have in my mind 30, 40, 50 vintages of the same wine. Okay, and when I taste 2022 of Latour, and we had a great chance because you can buy this wine in Premier, but not Latour. And we had the chance, incredible chance, to compare 2 great vintages, 2022
And 2016.
and 2016. And between 2016 and 2022, they make progress because the world is not stopping in 1855.
The same winemaker, though.
With the same winemaker. And they are evolving because the world is changing. You have the global warming. The weather is not the same. You need to adapt your winemaking. And in 2022, it was a bit warmer than 2016. And to see what will be Latour in 10 years, in 20 years, in 30 years. We have some ideas about that.
So we did Latour, the most powerful.
Yes.
Lafite, the most elegant.
The most elegant.
And Mouton,
Rothschild, the most
complex. And that leaves the other 2, right?
Yes. The number 4 is in Margaux.
Right.
It's more in south. And that is interesting because Margaux today, you have 80-90% of Cabernet. But usually Margaux is a smooth wine. It's always more supple, easier to drink.
Supple, do you mean smooth?
Yes, more smooth. When you begin to taste, you prefer Margaux.
Yes, I would agree with that.
Yes. And the 5th is in the south, but it's not in Médoc. It's in Graves, it's the south of Bordeaux. But it was so well known in 1855 because it was included in the classification.
It automatically got included.
Yes.
As the first.
It was at first growth. Okay. But it's not in Médoc. The mix is completely different because roughly you have 50% Cabs, but 50% Merlot. Cabs is always more freshness, more density. Merlot is always more smooth.
Round, right.
And in Graves Volée, you have always, we don't know why, smoky aromas. In Haut-Brion. Now, Haut-Brion is inside the town, but it was smoked 2 centuries ago too. That is not the cars, because it was always described, was 2 centuries ago, the aromas are smoked.
Smoky.
Yes, that is the 5th are completely different. All they age very well. We had last night,
Oh
the
my
Margaux,
goodness, of 1924.
1924, 100 years old,
Crazy.
and was fresh, alive, evolving in the glass. 1 hour later, it was always here. It's incredible.
Yeah, I would have never said this wine, just blind tasting, was 100 years old.
Yes.
So I want to ask you a cheeky question. Out of the first growths, which one is your personal favorite?
That is complicated.
I know.
That is complicated. I am Alsatian, and my father, in the green garden, has 15 different salads.
Oh, really?
Yes, because he don't want to eat lettuce every day.
Right, right.
And that is so interesting. And I am so young because I have a lot to taste, but it's too early for me to have an answer on this question.
Yeah. But you've been tasting Bordeaux for 40 plus years.
Yes.
Out of the 22s that you've tasted, which one do you prefer?
I have 2 best ones.
Okay.
In one hand, Lafite,
Okay.
in the other hand, Latour.
And why?
Because the Lafite is most elegant, and Latour, you have this density. You cannot say Picasso, 98 points, Van Gogh, 97.
Right.
You cannot compare.
Yeah.
What do you prefer? It's so different and interesting both.
Okay, so here you go, coming from one of the most experts of this world about Bordeaux, Bernard Burtschy. And we're going to close for this session right now, but stay tuned because we will be coming back to go through the various areas of the left bank with Bernard Burtschy, discovering Bordeaux. Stay tuned.
Thank you for joining us on another episode of On the Road Edition, hosted by Stevie Kim. Join her again next week for more interesting content on the Italian wine scene. You can also find us at ItalianWinePodcast.com or wherever you get your pods. You can check out our YouTube channel, Mama Jumbo Shrimp, to watch these interviews and the footage captured at each location. Chin chin!